Easy E, 24 hours removed from the Cork City Marathon. How are we?
Not bad, actually.
Really?
Yeah, no, like absolutely fine. I'm ready to go back to a 5-6K tomorrow. It's just the heat.
No spoiler alerts in the episode, especially when we come to kilometer 37. We're going to talk about in the episode, but no effects afterwards. The heat, you're not feeling drained or anything today. You feel good to go?
I had 10 in the end pints of my body after the race.
You didn't drink. You let me down.
Yeah.
Where's the drinking buddy?
I went toilet once.
Well, okay, you need water. You need hydration.
That'll probably set up the episode nicely. Yeah, but it was look, it's just been phenomenal. In the end, it's exactly what we wanted. It was a foundation for the summer. I'm ready to keep training into the week, and that's exactly what we wanted. But the best part was walking in Cork with a big old Murphy's ice cream in my hand.
Ice cream sandwich in my hand.
Talking about going to get some fried chicken and hillbillies.
Missed it.
And someone goes, "These are the guys from the podcast." So I'm glad that my filthy habits got me caught out in Cork. But big shout out to Mark, who did a 3:22.
3:22 is phenomenal, especially
absolutely phenomenal. And a big thank you to all those who reached out to me on Instagram. Several listeners of the show. There was too many to name, actually, in fairness. But thanks very much for listening. Thanks very much for all the support. Obviously, my reply to everyone is it's not my best day out, but it is still a day out. And as we like to have to remind myself sometimes, there's a lot of people that will still not do a marathon, and to do my fourth one and at least cross the finish line with a very average medal, I will say. We don't talk about it in podcasts, but probably the worst medal I've ever gotten in a race. But anyway.
But the spoiler alert, it was wooden. I suppose as we're talking to Anthony yesterday evening, the dean, and he was like, it's mad you had a choice of getting either a t-shirt or plant a tree. And it looks like the plant a tree was used to do the medals.
Either way. To run 42.2 and to get the wispiest medal in the world. I want to hear the clingle clangle on the little medal rack at home.
And it's not just yourself. There's a fair few of you that I've seen a few Instagram posts and people are like, "Oh, it was phenomenal. The weather, the atmosphere, everything." And to come with a medal that like there wasn't much of a breeze, but even the slightest of breeze, and that thing was blowing off their shoulder and stuff.
Yeah, it is all about the medal. Let's be honest.
Okay, it is. Yeah,
it's something we always look at every year. It's like, oh, that's actually a nice medal. And that was worth it. But probably the only negative tick I can put on the whole thing. But absolutely phenomenal. Well rested, well ready to get into the next week, and looking forward. A lot of people very keen on hearing the review of this race, so we better crack into it.
Yeah, so this episode of the podcast, we pretty much recorded this. You got back to the lobby somehow before me, and you're sitting there, and because of, especially when we talk about in this episode, kilometer 37, like when I was walking back to the hotel, I was like, I know we had this original plan, doing the lobby and everything else, but I don't know if you're going to be able for this, if you're sunstroke, whatever it is, if you're going to need the next 3-4 hours in bed. And look, you needed a lot of water and stuff afterwards. There's no drink for you afterwards, and nothing wrong with that, obviously. But you sat down there. I was like, right, be cracking on with it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, guess we're doing it. So I got the laptop and everything set up. So this episode was pretty much live from the Dean, and it's pretty much your immediate thoughts, because there's always, when you listen to people talk about marathons, straight afterwards, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm never going to do this event again. They say it straight away. So we want that instant reaction to how you felt doing the marathon. And then 3-4 days later, you get a text. Like, for example, you got a text last night being like, hey, sign up for the Cork City Marathon again. The next 48 hours, you get 10% off. So that initial reaction we were looking for in this episode. Right before we send you guys to that episode, Eric, I know you mentioned the medal. Was there anything else in the podcast that you were like, oh, I should have mentioned this, or, hindsight, 24 hours and thinking on it, I should have thought of this, and there's not like, it was there anything like, oh, I forgot this happened, or like, I don't know, it was like, actually, when I thought about it, maybe those hills really took it out of me, or water, or anything else like that, or just like, nah, let's just crack on the episode.
Yeah, no, pretty much it's fairly in-depth. Obviously, a little bit more training. And maybe I would have survived a little bit longer. Like that's a fact, and everyone knows that. And even Mark who met us while I was shoving ice cream and talking about fried chicken was like, "You did this with 2 weeks training."
Yeah.
Like that's the obvious. That's not even. I suppose maybe I'm not highlighting that fact. Like that's stupidity. But like apart from that, like to get to that comfort level, like, and I am of course jealous when you see the 322s and you see the 330s, and I've done a 335, so to come away with a 415 is disappointing.
Okay.
But expected, because I said realistically is a 415, and that's what we said on the podcast.
On a positive spin on that, this was your third fastest marathon.
My third fastest. It wasn't even my worst marathon.
It's your third fastest. Yeah. And on that note, we'll get straight into this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. Let's go. Easy. And I genuinely mean this. Normally I just say this question for like, I just be saying it, but like, how are you? Because we're just literally in the lobby of a Dean Hotel around half hour, 45 minutes after you complete the marathon. And I'm sweating from just walking around. I did a 4K jog coming up towards you, but a lot of breaks in between. And I'm in bits. So how are you?
I have to say, I am. You can't say that word.
Because we're in public. Hasn't stopped in the podcast before.
Well, this is the podcast coming to you live. But it's this is my fourth marathon, and although I have to say it's a beautiful marathon, it is a relatively flat marathon. There's a couple of hills in the second half, but the temperatures today made it the hardest. I've done a few things, a few difficult things, and I would rank that up as one of the hardest things I've done. I trained probably not enough to be able to manage it, but there was nothing I could do for the heart rate through half. Right, so it was very nice up to the first half, and all the time it's like, oh, how am I feeling? What's going to go? There's 13K. Oh, I'm still all right. Getting the food in, getting the isotonics in. I think everyone had the fear as well. I was watching in the early stages, a couple of people taking water, taking 2 or 3 sips and throwing the bottle away. I was like,
hold on to this.
It was the first marathon I have held every bottle.
Right.
Every single bottle I held. I took sips in the latter stages. So I drank heavy in the first stage when it was easier to drink. And then when the tiredness hit in the second half and I couldn't even drink, I'd take a little sip, pour some in my hat, and then put my hat back on my head just to get that little bit of a relief. But yeah, I came. It was really good. I'm trying to just. There was a few very good points when we entered Jacqueline's tunnel downhill. It was only then I realised how hot it was so early.
But you even let's go right back for a second, because you were worried about the heat yesterday. So we got to the Dean yesterday and we went to City Hall, picked up your number and all the rest. And you were constantly talking about this heat. And even this morning, I've never seen you so quiet over breakfast and touch so little of your breakfast as well. Because you were constantly the heat was a big factor, and you were like, as soon as you could, you were jumping into shade yesterday, and you're worried about getting water in and everything else. And I was back sitting my pints, not worried about anything at all. So like. When you were getting up before the start of that race and you were thinking, like, it wasn't too warm this morning before, but you knew the sun was up, it was a clear sky, it's going to get pretty hot. Did you feel the heat straight away? Was it something that was really on your mind that much? Or was it like, I need to get used to this heat because you have the Ironman in Portugal? Like, what was going through your mind before the start of the race?
Yeah, so just before the start of it, like breakfast now, in fairness, the guy was a bowl of granola that feed an elephant now, but I did pick at it just because I was conscious not to be too full.
There's not many places where you get breakfast at 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday before.
They really looked after everyone who was doing the marathon. It was absolutely fantastic, the setup, but it was... it was on my mind, like looking out the window when you're not seeing a cloud in the sky at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're like, and the reason I say it is I've been in them situations, except wearing a hell of a lot more gear and helmets, and it's 25 degrees. And I have actually taken a bang from one of those things, and I had to be given drips and everything to get me back around. So for me, I know the limit of what heat can do.
Was that the fear because it's happened before that this could happen again? You did a race before, you did with your work, and near the end or something you collapsed, was it?
That was it, that was it, where you're running with all the gear on.
And what happened then?
On. Just, it was going and going and going until I wasn't, and the next thing I woke up in the hospital. So it's one of those things that was in the back of my mind. So yesterday, I was walking around here like I was trying to rob banks. I was lurking around corners looking for the shade, because every ounce of being in the sun is going to drain on your energy for today. But yeah, look, in the back of my head was I hadn't done a hell of a lot of training coming into this. Yeah, so being a little bit fitter probably would have helped me a little bit. So that was in my head initially. But off the start line, it was really comfortable. It was actually, there was a nice breeze. And as we got around through 5K, that's when I felt the heat. Once we
5K in?
Yeah, because we were running through the buildings and the sun was still quite low, quite shaded.
Right.
But then we headed out towards the east and the sun was just in your face.
It's like 4:09 then.
Yeah. And I was like, wow. I looked at my watch, I was seeing 160 in the heart rate at a 5:30, and I was like, slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down. And I was running in every ounce of shade I could. I was hugging walls. I was running on footpaths because I knew at some point it'd be mad.
Right.
It was going to turn into a wacky races. But yeah, it was. But I have to say, it was a beautiful first half. Yeah, beautiful. If that was the first half of a half marathon, that's PB territory. No, not for me today. Like obviously,
if you're going for it,
but yeah, that was absolutely fabulous. Yeah,
and you got to Jackson Tunnel. Was that near the half mark? Was it a little bit?
That was through 10, 11K.
Okay, cool.
So through 10, 11K, and it's a great downhill. So once you got into the tunnel, you were like, oh wow, it is warm. Because once you were shaded, it was like there is a huge difference between being out in it and being in it. And then there's a big climb out of it. Now, I was running with the 4-hour balloon, and they were clipping along. Like they were like, by the time we got to 10K, they'd put 2 minutes in the bank, and I was like, easy, fellas, easy. So I stayed with them, but as they climbed the hill, I obviously dropped back up the hills again, trying to control that heart rate. Yeah. In through an industrial state, when I hit 16K, I actually felt like I came into my own. Okay. I felt great. That industrial estate, housing estate area, really long downhills, short climbs, really long downhills. And all I had to do was tip the head forward, and I was doing 5:15, 5:20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the hill was doing it. There was no energy being used. I had 2 gels, so every 8K I was taking in a gel. So then I got my second gel in, and I was treating it like an ice pop. Like I was just sipping away, looking around, and just really enjoying taking it in.
And at this stage, you're 16K in. Are you thinking times for finishing? Are you thinking, okay, it's going to get hotter as it close to midday? Or are you just like, okay, were you thinking that you're feeling good, I need to push on a little bit further? Or are you thinking I need to pull back because I know what's ahead?
No, I stuck with it. The reason being, I wanted to get through the half and figure out how far I was off. Right. Because I had a feeling as temperature increased, I was not sure how long I was going to keep it going. Yeah. There was going to be, because I was watching the heart rate rising, and I didn't want to let go of the pace because it would only get hotter anyway. I was like, let's get through the half and let's see what state we're in. And sure enough, the Bings, I think I was at a 1:56 half marathon. Right. So I was like, time in the bank. If it all fails, 4:15. Yeah. So I was like, look, that means I can now go. If we can get to 20, if we can get 25, if we can get to 30, I'm edging closer to securing that 4:15. And then the other half is I didn't know when it was going to go. And you're always asking yourself that during the marathon, when's it going to go? When's it going to go? When's it going to go? Came through 25K, 24K-ish, and then the half marathon joins in. Yeah. Oh my God.
You look swamped, because I seen you around 26, 27K, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, this looked very
definitely more people doing that than there was the full. And not only that, they come in at the pace they're doing. We picked up the start of, when we got there, it was the 150s who were off. So I was like, geez, we're clipping along again. Look down at 5:30 again. And I was like, I'm comfortable. So mostly, like the first check-in I do is, how's the body doing? And it's like, the knees feel good, the calves feel good, the back feels good. And then I look at the watch and I was like, the heart rate's okay, 165. I was like, manageable. Because once we came through the half, I was like, right, it's going to rise. We just have to see how long we can go, keep breathing, keep drinking.
When I seen you around 26, 27K, you jumped in around the 145, 150 balloon or something you were at. Yeah. So like, there's a lot of people in that, and they're going at not much faster, but they're going at a little bit faster pace than you're going, and they're fresh. Yeah. That messed the head a little bit. Like, people are passing you at this stage because they're fresh starting.
There was a young guy called Will running with me. No, I hope you finished ahead of me now, because, well, we'll explain later. But The bit that annoyed me,
Right.
they're 2K in. And now I don't blame them.
Is this the water station again? The corner?
No, the one water station.
Okay.
So, sorry, this was just before half. There was a water station. And so they're using the Ishka
Like the 250ml bottles.
They were taking the sports caps off the bottles and giving you the bottle open. So that was a bottle of water wasted. I couldn't even drink it.
Yeah.
It just kept splashing all over my hands. So that went into the hat and onto the head. And poured the rest of my wrists. And I was like, took another sip, nearly choked. I was like, so yeah, but then you have people who are only 2K in, and they were worse than each other to get into the shaded parts.
Right.
And I was like, how dare you take my shade?
It sounds like me going all over again, but go
How
ahead.
dare you take my shade? But they're well entitled to it. I was just being...
They're 2K in.
yeah.
It's the same, we're getting the bottle 2K in. You're like, do you really need it? Because I'm starting to...
It's still 21K in that heat.
Yeah.
So I don't blame them, but when you're tired and you're like, get out of here.
Well, Neve did the 10K, and she was like, after 3K, they no water station to finish. And she heard a lot of people giving out about, like, yeah, I know it's warm, but you started at 4 to 9. You had water 3K in. 7K, you should be doing that without the water.
Yeah.
Like, almost say the 10K, roughly an hour mark. I know people got different goals, stuff like that. It's like, you should probably be doing that without the water and stuff like that. But like, if you're 2K into a half marathon, and you see the full guys there, it's like if you're desperately clinching for water there, you're in a lot of trouble. You're in a lot of trouble. A little bit later on. So I met you around 26, 27K in, I think. Was the next time I met you. Now I met you around a couple of K in start. It's brilliant the way they do it. Luke, you're on the key, and you see them again already before the 10K starts. And obviously, you refresh them. The next time I seen you, you were talking about, I think you said you lost a gel or something. What happened there?
So I had my race belt had 4 gels and 2 jellies. And so the way I did it was every 8K take a gel.
Yeah.
Through 32K, you're hoping to get your last one in, and then you're pretty much home. And the 2 jellies. The jellies I just take a bite of and throw them into the pocket. So anytime I'm running downhill, I'll just take a bite out of it and throw it back in. Because it's easier for me to breathe downhill. I'm not working hard, and it's just nom and you're gone. But then I went for my 4th. When I met you, just before, I was like, right, maybe I'll start looking for my other gel. And it wasn't there. So somewhere around the roads of Cork. So I had 3 gels in the end. And you gave me the bottle of Lucozade and whatever else. But I knew then that was 27K.
Yeah.
Heart rate was 174. And I was like, oh, I'm doing all right. Now, I told you then, I was like...
Did you have to watch just on the heart rate? Sorry.
No.
So you just kept checking the heart rate? Okay.
So pace didn't really matter to me.
Right.
It was heart rate. And I was doing all right. And I was doing good. And I was being stubborn. And then I came through 31 kilometers.
Right.
And my heart rate got up to 187. And I seen 3 people KO'd up face down on the ground. Oh. And I had that little chat with stubborn Eric, and I was like, you're under the 4. You can take your time. Yeah, you get to 4:15. I can't describe the feeling of the heat and the feeling of me being stubborn. And the little battle we had for 500 meters up to that. And then eventually I got to a stage, it was like, no, I want to cross the line and enjoy the rest of my day. And so yeah, did it blow up? Absolutely. The heart rate was uncontrollable at that point. So did it blow out? Absolutely. Were the legs working? There was nothing wrong with the legs. There was nothing wrong with the arms. There was nothing wrong with the ankles. Like, it was perfect body count. Like, I'm sitting here now.
You're grand. You're walking grand. Like, I met you at the 20-mile mark, and everything's moving grand, but only in your eyes, your face. I'm looking at you going, okay, you're in a bad way here. The heat's affecting you. But I was like, how's the body and stuff? Let's just take our time, come downhill, and try to be a small bit. And you're like, I feel grand. It's just literally just the heat and stuff, and you're a bad way. And later on, we'll talk about it as well. Like, I was seeing people literally dropping down. And I'm going to say it now to those of us that didn't run this race but ran Dublin. And I'm going to try and put on a little Dublin accent for being a little bitch, because the heat in Dublin was, there was no heat where we did in Dublin Marathon. Like, if you listen back to our podcast with Dublin Marathon, a large part of that is top of the heat and how unbearable it was.
Yeah,
it was
16 degrees.
16 degrees. It was nothing to what it was today. Like, at the end of the race, I saw like your friends, the Defence Forces were over with crates of water and stuff we have up on our any given Monday stories, and just see the crates and stuff afterwards, and the amount of people dropping and stuff like that. So like the heat was unbelievable today to do any sort of race, let alone a marathon. But back to you, I seen you around 20 to 21 mile marker, and yeah, you could tell the heat was starting to take effect now, and I was like, right, I'll see you. I was being confident to you. I was like, look, I'm going to be literally it's great for a spectator, actually, by the way. Just if you ever spectated something about it, brilliant. So all I do was just cross through Cork, I think it was Cork Hospital, cross through that. And next thing you know, I'm at the 40K mark. Like, this is brilliant. So I had like a little Strava going through. I'm like, within 5 minutes, I'm at 40K. I'm going to see him here later. And that's when I saw people in a bad way. And one person that dropped and literally had his legs up to the wall. It's like, yeah. And he did the half marathon, and he was going through a lot there because he pushed his body like a lot of people did today. And I was just like, the people are giving gels and water, and medics came, just took a step back because that's not my job from there. But that was happening constantly throughout the course, and you went through your own shit between that 21 mile and me seeing you at that 40K marker.
Yeah.
What happened when I was in that gap between I seen it? Because I haven't heard the story yet, but I know the story here.
It took me a while now. It did get hilly. It took me a while to figure out what was going to get me over the line. I knew the time I had to do, so I knew I had to be about a 7-minute kilometer, plus or minus maybe 10 seconds. And then I was running for 500, and then I was like, no, the heart rate was going right back up into 180s. I was like,
as soon as you start jogging again, it's back up.
Yeah, by the time I got
back down, or
so I walked, I let the heart rate come down, and then I was like 165, go again.
Okay.
But then through 300 meters, 186.
Were you judging your walking paces based on whether?
I was speed walking. So my theory was, and I don't know if anyone has ever had to walk, but we had to pretty much keep the legs moving as quick as possible so I could get myself running again. Otherwise, it would have been a nightmare. I don't think I ever would have got running again. It was just too much. There was a few people I seen trying to take a pot of hike, please. We're just ordering more pints.
Do you want a drink?
Nah, I'm all right.
Oh, I'm good.
The beauty of life. The other thing was the last element of that part was I figured that 300 meters was enough to get me to 177, and 200 meters was enough to get it back down to 165. And I just operated between there because I was like, that's an acceptable limit for me to keep going.
You were still going off distance down that.
Yeah. So it was 200 meters walk, 300 meters run, 200 meters walk. And it was mentally for 6K, it was just keep doing that.
And did that matter? Because you said the second half was hilly and stuff. Did you come down a hill and start walking again? Or was it constantly, okay, go by distance?
I was a couple of big ones. I was like, right, fuck that.
Yeah. It's like 200 meters, you're running up hills. I guess the downhill. After that.
They balanced because on the other side of that was usually downhill for a couple of hundred meters. So the heart rate had a chance to come down. Anyway, until I hit
37K, isn't it?
37K.
Look, I wish my point had arrived already because my first point's empty. So if I start staring at the words, I don't care. It's what I'm not doing much talking, but 37K.
37K.
What happened?
It felt like, and this is the mad thing, it felt like I swallowed a fly. Oh, does that make sense?
Nope.
Do you know that feeling? You ever go running? Fly goes into your mouth and you're like, okay. I just got this feeling in the back of my throat. And then I was like, my stomach just started retching.
How big was the fly?
There was no fly. My stomach just started retching. And I was like, what's going on? I still had water in my hand, took a little sip. As soon as that water hit my stomach,
gone.
Oh,
Genuinely get sick?
Genuinely, yeah.
Where? How?
Well, I was kind of to the side, but it was like someone letting off a fire extinguisher. I've never, like,
you never got sick in a race before?
No.
This is the first time?
Yeah. So,
and was it straight away? Did you have a chance to pull anywhere?
No, it was instant. It was instant. And I was like, right, here's the start of the heat stroke. Oh, so God. It was like a fire extinguisher. You know when you get, sorry, this is very graphic. You get sick and there's bile in your stomach?
Right.
This was pure foam. It was foamy. It was the most bizarre thing I had ever seen. I was like, oh my God. But the best or worst part was someone obviously had a weak stomach. So when I just went, all my foam all over the place, there was one woman that was like, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
So she ended up getting sick all over the road because she seen me getting sick.
Oh, jeez.
And that was a 37K. And then the weirdest part was I felt great after it.
You said literally get out of your system.
Get out of my system, yeah. And then I was just conscious then. I was like, right, we turned the last straight, 30, it was literally just before the bend. Turned the last K, 38 kilometers. And it is the longest road you'll ever do.
I saw it on the map, yeah.
All it is, and I was just looked at my watch. 3 on, 2 off, 3 on, 2
You're
off.
constantly in the heat, though.
Yeah,
There was no shade there because it's on one side of the road and the road's up. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And that's why it was the only thing that could keep me going was just stick to the numbers. 3 on, 2 off, 3 on, 2 off. And it was nice because when it was coming up to the kilometer 3, so I'd start walking at every bing of the kilometer. So then I'd run to the 500 meters, I'd go to the 700, and then I'd just run to the bing and forget about it. Then the bing would be a surprise then, you know?
Yeah.
And then I met you at the corner then, 40K.
Right before 40K, yeah.
You were like, the 4:15 is there. And I was like, shit. And you were like, if you just keep like a 7 minute, you'll make it. I was like,
when I said that, you weren't believing me.
No.
I could see the look. I was like, hey, I had to break it down. I'm like, look, I remember it was 12 minutes past 8. And you're like, oh, no, I'm not on. I'm like, look, 7 minutes. And you're there before 12:25. Like, you should be 12:25 and 12:30. This is on, even at a 7 minute kilometer pace. Just keep going. And you're saying, we're talking that stage. You didn't tell me, but you're like, 37K, John, I have a hell of a story. And when I was waiting there, that's when I saw the guy at the literally prop his legs up and just get stuff. And there was a lot of people really, really struggling with the heat at that stage. And I was just like, look, 7 minutes. 7 minutes. You have 7 minutes in for 2K. I knew you had it.
Once you said that to me, so I was averaging about a 7:10 kilometer.
Right.
Because of that. And that's when I was like, right, then the numbers made sense. So I was like, right, so if I walk for 190 meters and I run to 510 meters, I can start to make that 7 minute K. And then once I got into the town, coming down the quays, I was like, I can't walk now.
Well, like at this stage, I had a Lucozade and water with you. I didn't know you'd water. You gave me the water, and you wouldn't take the Lucozade. You were like, I am not going. You didn't want any more. You said something.
What happened when I put water into the system the last time?
You got sick.
I puked all over the road. So it was a case of just manage it. Because even still, as I got through 40K, 41K, I was still doing it.
Yeah.
And just keep going. But yeah, like I met some guy, like, not to go into the graphics, but it is the truth of what it was today. There were some people unconscious foaming at the mouth.
Yeah.
And that's the truth of the seriousness of some people got to.
2-3 minutes before I saw you, because I then ran on to, it's great for a spectator, because you still have to go up and down the back end, even the 40K mark, where I just have to run straight towards Pastor Street, the finish line. So I was comfortably there well before you. And there was someone being carried by 6-7 people towards the finish line, and you can see they were trying to judge when to stop to see if you could run, and they're like, but they're around 100 meters away, and they still were like, and the guy, it looked like he just
the eyes back in.
Oh yeah, it's like, I think this guy needs to run straight to an ambulance. But there was a lot of that going on, and a lot of people need water. You just care constantly with the heat and stuff afterwards. So, while you 2K to go, you still had a fair bit of up and down. In and out.
There was one element that came underneath trees, and I have to say I was never so grateful to be on a path underneath trees. It was just instant shade, and I was like, oh, this is absolutely lovely. I loved every second of it. And then got onto the quays, and then the crowds are keeping you going. In fairness, there was one man was like, come on, I was like, you're right. Then the 4-hour 15 balloon came up behind me. I was like, water. And but straight away I was like, don't panic, lads, what time do you have? We'll be in 2.5 minutes ahead. And I was like, but I started ahead of them. I was like, right, get moving. So I turned into a 540 or whatever for the last 600-700 meters, and I seen you on the side of the wave, and I could see the clock heading through 4:14:20, and I was still 300 meters to go. I was like, ran like fuck.
You were running to the end.
You see, the body was fine. The body was absolutely fine. It was the heat exhaustion that was going to get me. It wasn't like my hammies weren't gone, my knees weren't gone. That was why it was the hardest one mentally, is like everything was functioning.
Right.
like it wasn't like when I did my 16K 4 weeks ago, I was like, oh, my knees were sore and this was sore. With this, it was everything mechanically was absolutely fine. It was just the heat starting to really take hold of me. So you seen the salt all over me. Like
You were like your skin was pale, was dry, and look, this speaking of someone who suffers with dry skin and stuff, it was like you had eczema at that stage. It's just very, very dry skin, and that's like. I mean, you had to shower yourself afterwards. You look fresh as a daisy.
Oh,
You look like you're going right now. You look great. But at the time, it was just very, very dry and just I don't want to say daunt kind of looking. But
I was on, like lights were on, but there was nobody.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to see it. I didn't see you I saw you around less than 100 meters before the finish line. And for some reason, I actually didn't see you afterwards, even though I ran down. You'd somehow gone. I actually thought you'd stopped the finish line. Where the fuck is he? And then eventually Katie was like, I have Eric, so Brandon's all good. Once you crossed that finish line, what was feeling?
They gave me a half marathon medal. I know he was that tired. I didn't even realize. She just put it on my head. And it was only someone pointed out to me as I was halfway back to the hotel. Now, in fairness, Katie's man went back and changed it because I nearly died for it, so I might as well have the marathon.
Yeah, damn right.
But it's
nice smell too.
Yeah, crossing the finish line. It was one of those I had to grab onto my shorts,
right,
and just suck a few deep breaths. And then God loved this woman. She was like, "You need to keep moving."
Yeah,
I had very little energy left, but I would have used it. But I was like, just give me a second. Like, no one is going to run into me. I am 20 meters beyond the finish line.
Yeah,
just give me a second. Now, in fairness, they have jobs to do. They can't let everyone stop, and I get that. But it wasn't me that was.
Yeah, I get
looking back at her, it was me who was about to collapse. But yeah, no, I went around just straight into the shade. Went around, and everyone's trying to hand you a Lucozade, and everyone's trying to hand you water. I'm like, I'm fucking
no
Lucozade and water. I'm walking by Dawn and said, Kate, in there, get me an ice cream. None of these fruit pastille ones.
But you
want an ice cream.
I was in one shop right before I seen it, 27K, and I went in, and they only had Lucozade raspberry. I'm like, Eric has mad exotic stuff. This would be grand. And I'll be like, that was too. You used the word sharp.
Yeah. Huh? When I went into the back of your throat, that almost catches your breath because it was so sweet and sharp in the back of your throat when you were gasping.
So I get the Lucozade orange and the next one.
So I took, in fairness, I did sup it.
Yeah, you had to. Yeah,
let it go. I did sup it. And then there was a young guy called Will running beside me. I was like, Will, get that in you. But yeah, I stuck with when I started my walk run technique. Will was, I'd say he finished only a minute or two behind me. He was doing his first marathon, and he was just holding on to me for dear life. When really I was holding on to him for dear life. And he was just, in fairness, he listened. Yeah, he was grateful for the little bits of advice. Get in under the shade when you can. To have another gel, which you get it into you now. You know, because I knew what he could do to just stay in the game, and that was the aim for him. So he had a great run, and it was nice to share that kind of experience. Now, what was really annoying for him was he kept running, and I was doing my walk-run technique, and I kept passing him out every time I was done. So. But yeah,
it just showed you how good that walk run, because people think, I used to think before doing marathons or even like long runs, I'd so messing with the backyard ultra for weeks, like you're walking. What do you mean you're walking? It's like, no, walking is acceptable. Walk run is a good technique to be using.
Yeah, there's a distance to cover. Yeah, that's the aim of the game. Look, I'm proud that I had to walk. You know, you're never proud.
You finished.
Well, you finished. Yeah, and I dogged it out. I'm not in hospital. I'm not on a drip. I'm sitting here drinking my body. My body is fresh, and we can train next week.
So I don't know about you now, but since I got here yesterday, obviously in this Instagram world, you put up different stories and stuff like that, and you get any given rundown. And I put my own little stories. Like yesterday, there was so much going on here yesterday with the frames, Marquee, there's boat races going on, there's FA Cup finals. We saw Cork versus Kerry. I was actually half interested first time in my life wanting to watch a GA game. Didn't watch a spoiler, but just because of that, I was half interested in watching it. But I was getting messages from people from Cork. A couple of people actually, a couple of friends I know, and they're like, Cork is the real capital. Welcome to the real capital. I was loving the buzz around the city. I spent much time in Cork. So the question has to be asked, How does the Cork Marathon compare to Dublin? And I before you answer that one, I'll tell you the support here for the Cork Marathon is a lot greater than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be close to Galway.
Yeah.
And in terms of Galway, there's very little to no support.
Yeah.
And it's not really a city marathon because you're out by South Hill and there's loops, stuff like that. Like you'll see a couple of people on those 4 to 6 loops. But here seemed phenomenal. Patrick Street finish seemed phenomenal. And every time I saw you, I saw people there and the guards there cheering people on. It seemed great. How was it for you? Was a lot of gaps of nothing, or how was it?
Once we left the city after 6K, we didn't really see the city again until 20K.
Okay, so that's why.
Yeah. But you know what? It was absolutely fantastic to be just out there.
Right.
Because you're not under pressure.
Right.
You shouldn't be under pressure through the first half.
Yeah, agreed.
So
you don't need that.
Yeah, you don't need that buzz. I know, unfortunately for me, I didn't care if there were people watching me walking because I had the game plan. But for others who would, I would definitely keep it on. It is a flat marathon.
Yeah.
And it was one thing that I just couldn't get my head around coming down. Like, no, this is Cork. The second half was hilly. But you wouldn't bat an eyelid at these hills normally.
Right.
It was only that I was in the second half and it was that hot.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm talking, like, when you talk of Dublin, you think Chapel Lizard Hill.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
There's nothing
Sorry,
like that.
Jack Lynch Tunnel, but still wasn't even as bad as that.
Okay.
It's okay. Yeah, well, you have what goes down has to come back up.
Okay,
So,
fair enough.
that was probably the closest thing to it. And then the rest were just sharp little hills.
There's no heartbreak hill.
It was just 200 or 300 meters, and then you were on the crest of it, and then it was down.
Again.
But for me, that 200, 300 meters was sending me back into the nearly 190s, and it just wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
Because it get to the top, I was walking nearly faster than some people were running up.
Power walking up, and you're safe.
And that's the thing. Look, when I said I was walking at an 8:30 pace.
Okay, so that's a bit of a power walk.
Yeah, it was walk. Because I knew if I slowed down, it was not getting back running. Like the mission was get there. That's
a bit of a swing the arm kind of.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. No, like it wasn't just to feel sorry for myself. I was powering up hills. Yeah, absolutely. And there was even one guy who was walking, feeling sorry for himself. I was like, "It's all right to walk. Just walk faster."
Yeah.
Because if you're once they walk, they give up.
Yeah.
Whereas, okay, they give up.
But it's that previous mindset.
Yeah.
If you walked, you haven't done a marathon, which is the mindset I had before. Was like, oh, as soon as you start walking, it's game over. No, it's not game over. It's just catching breath time. Maybe it is marching with intent up that hill, and then you start running again. That could save you in the long run. If you try and run up that hill, you might not finish that race, especially in this heat. But I have to credit the medics and stuff here, because when I was seeing people down and the guards were over straight away and they were calling for the medics, and just seeing them like within 2-3 minutes find their way towards this spot and then looking after people. And I'd say like they had a busy day in Dublin. Well, I'd say they had a lot busier day today in Cork looking after people, because that heat was an absolute killer. But
it was I seen, and I'm probably not going to talk about these things, but a couple of emergency service people under pressure. They were seeing people in ways they haven't seen them before.
Yeah,
because 1 minute it's all hand claps and high fives and everyone's doing well, and then boom, someone just drops.
Well, like I said, I've never seen your friends come in a big truck with crates and crates of water at the very end of the race. Usually, whatever water is there at the race is there, and that's it. But they needed to get more in today because of how severe this heat. And look, we're Irish, we're not used to heat. It's been 7-8 days without any rain, and we're like, what's going on? Like, I had to read up this week how like every time you run, you're in the sun, and all of a sudden the rain starts coming down. And that's what we've been dealing for with the exception of last week. The last 2-3 months, you're like, today's going to be a good day. And then like 2 hours later, it starts lashing rain. You're like, typical Ireland. We're not used to this. Like, even the weather forecast now is like, it's not going to rain for the foreseeable future. You're like, really?
Not music too.
Are you sure?
I just checked the temperature. Cork Airport, which would be fairly accurate for the time, is showing 23 degrees.
Yeah.
And it's 2:00 in the afternoon. So I'm like, I've never ran. Like, I know, look, there'll be Portugal's going to be hot. So listen, it's a good insight into me of what hot is.
Well, that's what I was saying during our 40K. It's like, look, and it's almost, we're used to saying here, when it's lashing rain, try and get a training run in, because if race day comes and it's actually rain, it's like, you know what? You've ran that, and you can go back to that time where it's miserable running, but you ran anyway. For you, it's now like, okay, you've done a marathon in this heat you're not used to. When it comes to Portugal, and it's gonna be a hot ass Portugal sun, and you've done your swing, you've done your cycle, you're through the marathon, all of a sudden you start feeling sorry for yourself. The warm it is, like, hang on a second. I was in the depths of Cork, not as fit as I am now for this Ironman, and I managed to get myself through. And having that thing to pull back on and say, hey, I've done this in this heat, it is going to be incredible for you. And
if anyone says I didn't do an Ironman because I'm walking around the marathon, I'd be telling them to go and shit. But no, it's it was. I was scared. I was. It was the one.
You were very nervous before this.
I was just
you're nervous before Dublin. But
that was just more nerves because it was Dublin.
Yeah.
It was a marathon. But like marathons, even after that, I'm kind of like, not to say it, but we
just a fourth marathon.
Yeah. So there's a bit of experience there now to draw the difference. And this is my second slowest marathon at a 4:15. So
that's not bad going.
But by far the hardest marathon I've done.
Right.
Just because inexperience of my own body, I would have probably stubbornness would have put me in a world of hurt today. I wouldn't be doing a podcast at 2 o'clock looking to go for lunch. I'd probably be through the tube now. But like knowing when the game is up was the most important part to me. And knowing that I have to train next week.
Yeah.
So there's a lot involved in it, but in terms of learning myself, it was absolutely amazing.
It's mad at this stage, like this is your fourth marathon. And usually the marathon is the peak of your training, and then you pull back for a couple of weeks. That's where let's go. Whereas this is like week one. Yeah, this is the end of your 75-day challenge. Just towards week one, and now it's like, okay, I have a base.
Yeah,
like you have used as a marathon as a base towards what you need to do in the next, is it must be 20 weeks from now, because Dublin's around 23, 24 weeks.
Yeah, it's a week before Dublin, so it's 22 weeks.
22 weeks. Oh, yeah, before the Portugal Marathon.
A hell of a lot of training.
This is what it's all about now.
So a hell of a lot of training needs to happen now. The 75-day challenge, even though I failed it, I'm 91.5 kilos now. So there's nearly a stone lost since I started it.
That's a rough failure, Eric. You lost it. It's absolutely not.
But now I've completed a marathon. I wouldn't say marathon fit, but I've completed a marathon at the start of my training. So that's a fantastic thing mentally to be like, listen, getting off the bike and running 10K now is not a big deal.
Do you have a time before the Portugal Ironman of what you're going to do each split in, particularly the marathon for this podcast?
I think I don't want to put a time on it yet.
Okay.
Kind of like this marathon. Let me get through a couple of hard training days, and then I can make an assessment. Yeah. Because me just saying 12 hours now, people are probably laughing at me and be like, "You don't know what 12 hours."
There's it. Yeah.
I don't. Well, I think finish it is priority.
Okay, go.
I think I wouldn't like to be out there longer than 15 hours as well. That's a lot of nutrition. That's a lot of fatigue.
Yeah.
My swim isn't great, so unless I improve that, it could end up being a long day. And
well, the swim you said before, the difference of 10, 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Well, is that a lot of fatigue in that 10, 20 minutes? Yeah. It's over into the cycle and on, or
if you're doing it right, you should be using a lot more arms. And then you're on the bike where you're not using your arms. So there should be a nice little bit there. But yeah, it's just a nice place. Like I know Lorcan Fisher's going to be laughing at me listening to this because we're doing back-to-back emergency or medical service duties, and that's going to be a lot of training. So there's 4 days there, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Hopping to the river afterwards.
And we're going in, Clove Punch. We'll be in the lakes. We'll be swimming. We'll be doing everything. So there's serious training to come for me. And this is a springboard, and that's in 4 days' time. So I'm off a marathon and then be looking down the barrel of I need to get into a lake, which is my biggest fear. Biggest fear is to swim. The bike will come. It's just you just need to put time in the saddle. That's it. Kids are finishing school, cycling in and out to work. There's 60K 4 days a week, 240 kilometers a week before the weekend when the long stuff has to happen. So that's the base of giving myself. I'm a stone lighter. Now I'm going to move into a phase where it's keep the weight on yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's a fantastic position to be in. Again, it's a failed 75-day challenge, second worst marathon. But
It's being harsh to yourself.
no, but
it is. I
the
don't.
positive is, look where I am.
Yeah.
Look what I'm going into now, and it's confidence. Everything is confidence. Like a 4-hour, 15 minutes to just pig it out, to just be a pig for the last 10K. And that's exactly what it was. It was just
Getting sick and everything.
me being a pig, puking all over the road, and just going after it. Just locking the door and going, listen, Eric, you piece of you are crossing that line.
Yeah.
And that was it. Now I did, when I puked up, the knees went a little bit weak. I was like, this could be me.
Yeah.
And then I'll walk it off.
That ever crossed your mind? I might not finish today.
Yeah, when I seen foam, I actually got frightened. So I'll walk it off, but then when your one got sick, I kind of laughed.
Well, you've had scares before marathons. Like you've been, dehydrated and salt tablets too early. You felt and all the rest.
10K into the Dublin Marathon, and that balanced itself out. So I took the salt tablet too early and got me imbalances right. But I have to say, though, nutrition wise, I was spot on today. It was nothing. Yeah, it was nothing to do with energy. It was nothing to do with hydration. Took a salt tab coming through 23K as well. Like I wasn't tired.
Can we just quickly go through for those that are listening that might do a hot marathon or they might do a Cork Marathon next year, which in Irish minds, a Cork Marathon or doing June Bank Holiday Marathon it is a hot marathon. Like we're like the Irish team in USA '94 all over again. But what break down the nutrition real quick for us?
For me, it was simple. I had 2 gels and 4 gels and 2 jellies.
Right.
And then the aim of the game was just pick up bits and pieces as I went along. I was using the bigger gels.
Salt tablets?
Salt tablets are in the pocket as well.
Did you use them?
One. Only one.
At what stage?
Coming through half.
Through half.
Yeah,
okay.
So I was feeling my skin, I was like, I am salty.
Right.
So I knew I was depleted enough. I was drinking a lot of water. And I was like, no harm with the next water, salt tap.
So you split the 4 gels then at what stages?
8 kilometers for gels. Jellies, every time I ran downhill, I'd take a little nibble out. It was the Decathlon jelly. They were like middle finger, index finger size jellies. And
you take a nibble and
I just take a bite, 3 bites. And I chew that away and I throw it back in the pocket.
The Decathlon jellies, are they?
They're like 40 grams of carbs in each one.
In a jelly?
Yeah, they're fairly intense now. So a little nibble and then that'll be going downhill. Then I'll take a gel at 8K and then through 10K down the hill, take another nibble of the jelly. Then 16, there's another gel going in.
Just get as much water at every station.
And then like going to 24K, it was like, oh, no time for the next gel. Up. Then I fixed my belt and then I was like, oh shit. Yeah, where's the 4th gel? But I was confident then. I was like, right, salt tab time because you're getting all the salty elements in.
Right.
And I was taking on the water. You gave me a Lucozade. So I was like, listen, gel's not going to save me now. I wasn't feeling like I haven't got the energy to finish the race.
Right.
It was more, the sun was taking more an effect than nutrition. Like you're looking at me now. I don't even have pain in my calves because the nutrition was good. The salts were good. I'm not cramping. Yeah. I'm sitting here with my legs bent for this whole podcast. Yeah.
Very fresh.
No, I'll probably be grunting and moaning and trying to get up out of the chair. But in terms of I haven't cramped up one, these are all the signs that it was a success.
Your Florence Nightingale now nursing that pint of my body over there. I'm a few pints in, but so overall, Cork Marathon. Yes, no, recommend.
Yeah, listen, 100%. Yeah, it is. It's a fantastic marathon. It is a heat. Like, do you know what? It's just something you're going to have to train for. Running jumpers. Put a hat on.
You've said this before in the podcast. I can't remember. I think it was actually going well back to like 3.5 years ago.
Going to Madrid.
When we were going to Madrid, you were running through Phoenix Park with the 2-3 jumpers doing the David Goggins on it. Really.
Yeah, and like, you have to bring up your temperature in order to sustain that. Like, there's some people who did fantastic runs. Shane, who was here and has been so lovely to us in the day, he got us under 4 hours. Mark Bennett did 3 hours 26. Like, absolutely amazing running.
He can't be away from us. He won't come on the podcast. He won't even talk to us.
Coward. But it's absolutely phenomenal running out there.
Yeah.
And they stuck it out. But like, that's a 3:45 marathon in Dublin for Shane. That's a 3:15 for him. And I can hand on heart say that without a shadow of a doubt. Even though Dublin has more hills.
You reckon you would go in the fall with the condition you have now?
Easy. If this was overcast and 16 degrees, there was no problem. There was enough stubborn. The heart rate wouldn't have come above 169. You know, like, it was absolutely fantastic.
I have to say, it's like just watching it and seeing the effort and seeing how the bodies that the struggle that the people are going through. It's actually my first marathon that I was only there as a spectator.
Yeah.
So I can't really compare it to Dublin or anywhere else, but just seeing, like, feeling that heat and even just doing a 1K jog or something else. And I was in a 5-minute-hour pace, whatever. It was like, oh, I'm not deep in this going. Like, it's like I might need a shower after a 3K run broken up over 3-4 hours.
Yeah. What a pint time.
Yeah.
Can I get a pint of my white orange, please? Sean's card didn't work the last time, so I had to pay for it. It's nice to be working again. But yeah, so it's if you're looking for a challenge, it's flat.
Yeah,
it is that first half.
But having said that,
flat.
June bank holiday last year, because I know I tried to organise a barbecue. Last year, rain and miserable. And I did hear people near the start line being like, this complete different experience to what it was last year doing the June bank holiday.
Like, if you prep for this, get into the saunas, and run with a long sleeve on and run with a hat on, even for your 10Ks and stuff. Get used to that feeling of being very warm. If it rains, you are having an even better marathon. Yeah, like even yesterday. But if it's hot, like yesterday's the first time I was in the sauna in a long time here in Dean, and it's like, I need to start doing this more. Because I remember for my second marathon, a lot of my training was the sauna, and even the better half was telling me, it was like, I think that helped you with your breathing and everything else towards it. It's just, it's one of those things where it doesn't get talked about enough. The huge benefits of having that heat stuff coming in and trying to breathe through that. Whereas you're running with something like this, it can help you a lot if you're only getting in there, 20 minutes, 2-3 times a week. Yeah, no, it's definitely something to consider. Like, if you're looking for a challenge, and I don't mean in terms of the marathon, because it is not the hardest marathon. But that day makes it the hardest. Yeah, for Irish people. And even Spaniards laughing at But that was something like, when have we had this? The last week? There was no opportunity. There was no heat until last week. There was very little no heat. So you couldn't get anywhere at time of tide. So the city is beautiful. Yeah. It is spotless. The people are so friendly. The Dean Hotel have looked after us. We had a goodie bag even waiting for us in the room when we came back with Lucas aids. Yeah, it was deadly. You seen us swinging on monkey bars in the pool. In terms of body prep, I don't know. Like, I enjoyed this whole experience more than Dublin. Yeah, I enjoyed the challenge of it. I enjoyed suffering because I loved it. Yeah. I loved how shit it felt, because I'm sitting here now and I didn't collapse. Yeah, but we got the fact you walked from here to the start line, and it was probably less of a walk than getting a lift to Dublin. I mean, the nearest part you not having to buy a jumper. Yeah, Dublin still love it, but not having to buy a jumper or anything else. Yeah, I think this is an event. June Bank Holiday weekend, it's a great one to bring your other halves. It's a great one to just get people involved. There was so much on. There is so much on. And even still, like, for example, my better half did 10K today. Like, there's something there. And the half. The music itself, before we started recording, there was probably more people doing the half than there was doing the full. And that's the same at Galway as well. There's definitely more people doing the half than there was doing the full. And the fact that you have the full half or 10K and something to aim for that weekend, where like, some people, the 10K or the half is just, that's your thing and that's it. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, I will say the organisers, the water was glowing. Yeah. Oh my God. They did absolutely phenomenal work. Like, there was one stop but they took the lids off the sports cap, that kind of a little bit. But apart from that, Like that was one.
Yeah, I know 30K station max. I met you twice at around the 27 and then just around the corner from there. And there was like a little turn there, like right at the corner. I was like, oh, this is a danger zone to try and get water now. And I tried to meet you. I got the bottle of water. I was waiting for you to meet ahead, and then someone else asked the water, like, okay, you have that. No, trying to reach again, give me the water.
No,
was no such like that.
Like in Dublin, I noticed last year there probably wasn't enough water in certain places.
Right.
Whereas
that was the heat, and I say that with the 1 year or something.
No.
We were feeling the heat there compared to what it was, but it's not compared to what it was today for you guys.
I have to say they were brilliant. The emergency services. I've seen some things today that you'd nearly bless yourself and hope you're all right.
Yeah.
But the response of them
phenomenal.
For the 20 seconds I was witnessing what was going on, they were doing their level best for everyone. And it was brilliant. The main street was brilliant. The buzz was brilliant. People were bringing their garden hoses out and spraying mist for people to run through. Like, it was fabulous. We haven't.
I think I've ordered a pint of Hannigan. I think I've ordered one already. So I'm okay. Thank you.
But yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. And it was just, the goodwill was as good as Dublin. And we walked out of the train side. We got the train down. We walked 50 meters to the hotel.
Right.
They went on breakfast at 6:30.
Yeah.
I walked 800 meters to the start line.
Well,
I left the hotel 15 minutes before the race started. Like,
well, you walked in here, like, you just seen the marathon sign straight away. Like, it was just like, because it's like any idiot can run, but it takes a special kind of idiot to run a marathon. As soon as you walked in, I was like, okay, this place is built for people doing a marathon this weekend. Like,
no, it's absolutely fabulous. And then look, we're into Saturday or Sunday night on a bank holiday weekend in Cork.
Yeah,
and the weather is fabulous. I'm not going out until about 4:00, but it is absolutely amazing. And yeah, look, I can't, like, Shane has really looked after us, and Dean have really looked after us. We can't thank them enough. There was no need for them to be that good to us. Yes, we have the best podcast in Ireland last week. But
I can't believe we got this way through the podcast. I mentioned the
we're
podcast number one.
We're number. That's why we're doing things live now. We're getting cocky and ordering points on it. But it was just to give an insight into the raw, what it's like afterwards, and what it is. And now I'm 2 hours later, and I'm thinking I can eat, and it's lunchtime, and you know what? It's just time to just enjoy the experience now, and you don't get that in Dublin.
No,
you don't get that in Dublin.
I love Dublin. Dublin be here.
I do love it, but this one for me tipped it.
Tipped it, really?
Yeah, it did. I will still love Dublin.
Right, you still always do Dublin, or
I will still always do Dublin.
Okay.
I won't necessarily do it Cork every year. But as an experience and as a trip away, it's definitely one for everyone's time. Like, it is even registration. I was in and out in 5 minutes. You know, there's little things like that.
They had the essentials in the expo and stuff like that. Like, and we both said, I don't like to keep saying bad about Dublin, because Dublin was brilliant to us. But last year's expo was kind of like, And whereas a couple of years ago, maybe because it was new to us, like, this is brilliant. Whereas like last year, like,
well, we're not idiots, though. We can see what's different. So
yeah,
you can tell when it's a little less effort for your more expensive ticket and stuff, you know. So put that in inflation, all that. But that was one of the. I've seen a great time.
Go for it.
Because of inflation, you now have to run 29 miles.
That's good.
That one now. But yeah, look, everyone was brilliant. It was a fantastic night. I'm sitting in the bar lobby now, the hotel bar, which is fantastic. There's people starting their nights out. There's people wearing summer dresses. The sun is shining. Like, the atmosphere now is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I'm happy now with my flip-flops and shorts, and I'm going to go get a hot dog somewhere. You know, like, it is just amazing. You can't, for me, it was a 10 out of 10 experience with the hotel, with the train. Someone else did the driving, and I just showed up.
Yeah, you're just that vessel. Personally, I've nothing more to add this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. It's been great being a spectator, but a lot of you had a lot more fun doing the event itself. Congratulations on getting through that marathon with that heat. I honestly don't know if I could have done it myself, just because I did a 4K run, spaced it over 2-3 hours, and I'm like, oh my God, this is pretty much enough for me. I know wearing Jordans, basketball Jordans.
How are you? It's hot. It is hot, Sean. I don't know if you noticed, but it is hot.
It is hot. It is hot. So congratulations again. I'm about to go to my third beer, which is like 2 more than I usually can handle. So I'm going to stop this recording of the Any Given Day podcast before I start really slurring my words on it. Anything else to add before we wrap this
No,
up?
well done to everyone. Well done on all the pros. It really is a phenomenal achievement, that one. And let's see what challenges lie ahead over the summer. And until next time.
Yeah, best luck, Eric, towards your Ironman training towards Portugal in 22-23 time. Anyone that did Cork Marathon this weekend, congratulations, you guys are even doing 10K to half marathon, phenomenal stuff. And that's it for myself and Eric. Take care.
Bye.